What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another live stream on high altitude investing. Gonna go ahead and share the links. You guys know the drill. And we'll get straight into some analysis about the crypto markets and what I think is gonna happen. So let's pull a Bitcoin here and start with old BTC like we always do. Make sure that's shared over here. Yes, it did. Cool. So let's pull a Bitcoin here. And yeah, Bitcoin is starting to recover here, as you can see. Let's pull up the daily candlesticks. We did have a sell-off yesterday, but we're already mainly recovered from that sell-off. If we go to the 6 hour, you can see we had a pretty good reaction off this support level right here. So for my VIPs, you guys know I was posting about this support area being a strong area of support, and that I expected Bitcoin to see a bottom right there, and that's exactly what has started to happen. Now, if you guys don't know what a bullish pin hammer is, or maybe it's bullish pin bar. It might be hammer. Let's see. Trying to remember my candlestick patterns. They're pretty much the same thing. Yeah, bullish pin bar, bullish pin hammer. Looks like it's giving me the same results. So this is what a bullish hammer or bullish pin bar candlestick looks like, and that's exactly what we see right here. Oops, there we go. That's a bullish pin bar candlestick on Bitcoin. So that's a really strong buy signal here to see this strong bullish pin bar that shows bullish momentum. And as long as we can get through this resistance right here, we should push up higher, right up through this area of resistance. Or if we get through that area of resistance, then we should push right up higher through to a new all-time high again. So that looks pretty good with Bitcoin. What is up, Iron Mike? Rico, Hawk, good to see you tuning in. I know it's kind of a weird time for a live stream, but, you know, better to do one than to not do one when I'm excited about the markets and want to talk about crypto, right? So, yeah, Bitcoin looks good. It looks like we're going to keep pushing up higher here. If we do reject at resistance, the lowest I could see Bitcoin going in the short term, like if we don't get above our old all-time high up here at 125,000, which I do think we will, the lowest I could see Bitcoin going in the short term would be down to this other support at around 117,000. But right now we're looking pretty good here on the daily. Strong bullish reaction off of support. And it looks like we are recovering and we will push higher here for Bitcoin. So let's talk a little bit about the total market cap. Total market cap also had a strong reaction on support. You can see this area of support right here. We had a very strong reaction off that support level, and I believe we will go higher here based on that reaction off support, right? It's kind of similar to what happened over here. This was a bigger version of what just happened, but right here, when the total crypto market cap came down to this lower support level, a lot of times the tendency for people in the market is to sell support. It's really easy to get thinking with your emotions. There's usually a lot of people that are bearish during those times where the market comes down to support. And so a lot of people end up selling onto support. But as you can see, we did have a very strong bullish reaction off of that lower support level. And that's a really good sign for Bitcoin and the total crypto market cap. The fact that we had a strong reaction off those lower support levels, came all the way up to a new all-time high. That shows that we're still making higher highs and higher lows. Also, a lot of people were looking at a head and shoulders top right here. and that just didn't play out. You know, if we would have failed support right here, that would have been kind of bearish, at least in the short term. But we bounced right up through support, and that head and shoulders top did not play out. And that left us with a lot of reasons to be bullish on the markets. This is also a nice V-bottom recovery. This is what the S&P 500 has done over and over again, and the crypto markets are no exception. We often get the same kind of energy in the crypto markets as what happens on the S&P 500, especially the bigger cryptos, and especially now that crypto is a lot more established than it was when I first got into it, right back in 2015 when the market cap was small. It traded a lot more like penny stocks, like the meme coin markets. If you go to Dex Screener and you look at all these meme coins, these trade like penny stocks, like old school crypto. They're just pump and dumps usually. Some of them have big enough communities and market caps and are on big enough exchanges that they will recover and they will go higher. But most of the coins on here that are up like 4,000% in 24 hours, for example, those are just total pump and dumps. They're a lot more like penny stocks. And that's how crypto used to trade. But now that these coins have bigger market cap, there's institutions in on them, they trade a lot more like how the stock market trades. Charts chasers, what is up, my friend? Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, we can absolutely do XRP analysis for you today. Let's pull up XRP here. So XRP looking good here. We have a nice triangle here. We broke bullish out of that triangle, came down, tested it as support, and then we started to move up again, and now we're coming back down and testing support again. So this is looking pretty good for XRP. It's very similar to what happened right here, actually. So if we take our trend line tool here and we draw a triangle right here too, you can see it's very similar to what happened over here, where XRP broke bullish out of a triangle, came back down and tested it as support, and then started pushing higher. It's exactly what we're doing right now as we speak on XRP. It's a very similar kind of structure in this market, right? So in the near future, what I expect for XRP is a push higher, more upside, more momentum on the upside, right up through our local resistance right here at $3.64, which actually is the all-time high for XRP. If you go over to Bitstamp and go to the 10-day candlesticks, for example, you can see our old all-time high back in 2017 was $3.30. And our new all-time high is $3.68. And so I believe we're getting ready to break out of this little bull flag here and go up to a new all-time high on XRP, just exactly like what happened to Bitcoin, how Bitcoin went for a new all-time high. Bitcoin has a tendency to lead the market. It's the biggest in market cap. People spend their Bitcoin on altcoins. So Bitcoin has a tendency to run, and then you'll see altcoins kind of do the same patterns shortly after, right? And that's what XRP is doing. In fact, even if you do this, which is kind of cool to see, if you compare Bitcoin and XRP together here, if you look at what happened here, Bitcoin started running in 2024, right? Bitcoin really started to run in 2024, and XRP started to run in 2025. So you can see how XRP is doing the same thing that Bitcoin has already done. It's just Bitcoin did it first. And that's a common thing in the crypto markets because money comes into Bitcoin, people get excited about Bitcoin, and it starts to trickle down into all of the top altcoins. So that's important to be aware of. And yeah, XRP looks good. Looks like it's ready for more upside. If we go over to the biggest time frame again here for a second, usually coins don't just slightly break above their old all-time high and then start a bear market. It's pretty unlikely for that to happen, especially with 10 years, almost, not quite. It's like 8 years of accumulation here since 2017 when we peaked out right here in 2017 and 2018. We've been accumulating on XRP for like 8 years. So the idea that this thing is just going to slightly break above its old all-time high and start a bear market like some people think is really dumb. That's very ill-informed and not how markets work. Markets have a tendency, especially the bigger, the longer the accumulation pattern is, the more extended and more bullish the bull market's going to be, and the more it's going to go significantly above its old all-time high, right? So XRP looks really good. By the way, you guys, we don't have a lot of people tuning in today because the time was a little bit silly. Most people don't tune in at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. or whatever time zone you're in on a Wednesday. So I'm going to need you guys to request as many coins as you can so that we've got plenty of content to talk about here in today's stream. XLM and Flare. You know, it's funny you brought up XLM because I was just looking at it before I started this stream, thinking about how bullish this thing is and how good it looks. So let's go to the daily candlesticks here, and we'll zoom in a little bit here. And I really like XLM here because, first of all, it's doing the same thing that it did before. So we have a falling wedge right here. You can see this nice, there we go, this nice falling wedge pattern on stellar lumens. And that's the exact same thing that it's doing right now. Isn't that cool? It's a fractal of what already happened. This little falling wedge right here is just a smaller version of this falling wedge right here. And so that looks really good. This is a bullish continuation pattern. It's also a common bottoming pattern at the bottom of a big bear market. A lot of times you see these falling wedges at the bottom of big bear markets before a reversal, but it's also a continuation pattern, which means the market continues an already established trend. And we have an established trend right here. You can see we started an uptrend right here. So we already have an uptrend established. And this is a continuation pattern in this case for an already established trend. So I love this falling wedge here on stellar lumens. This leads me to believe we will easily break above our local resistance here at 58 cents and go up for a new local high. The other thing that I really like about this chart right now is this is a huge inverse head and shoulders right here. So we have a left shoulder here, a head right here, and a right shoulder right here. So that's another, it can be a reversal pattern, it can be a continuation pattern. In this case, it's a continuation pattern because we already started to see an uptrend over here. So that looks really good here for stellar lumens. And there's a high degree of probability in our favor that this will push up through our local resistance and start to head up to a new local high. So that looks really nice with stellar lumens. Sell order at $1.25 and $2. Let's look here. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a pretty good area for sell orders. It can be also smart too to have a little bit in long term, just in case this is a bigger accumulation than what some people are expecting. In case it leads to a bigger bull market, like crypto gets mass adopted, it can be wise to keep some in long term, especially if all of your money is on the house. You know, if you make $20,000 and you only put $2,000 into something, you can afford to keep 5 in because it's 100% on the house. You didn't pay for that money. It's free. The only thing you had to do is be smart enough and patient enough to buy at the right times and hold while it goes up to new local high, or new all-time high in this case, right? So let's pull up NVIDIA. So in case Stellar Lumens goes for an even higher bull market than $2, let's say it goes higher than $2, like it follows a Stellar Lumens follows a NVIDIA fractal right here and goes significantly above $2, it can be wise to have some in the market, like 30% in or more, to let it ride for a bigger, more established uptrend. That can be very smart to do. And this is actually a real principle. It's called letting your winners run. And you can look this up. You can study this on Investopedia or ChatGPT or whatever you want to use. But this is a very common thing that people do in the markets. This is what professionals do to maximize their profits. And I'm not saying keep 100% in, because if you're wrong and it doesn't keep running, then, you end up losing money because it goes down. But keeping a percentage in and letting your winners run is a very, very, very profitable trading strategy, because just like how when the markets are going down, especially in a bear market, it's going to go lower than what most people think. It's going to break below support and go for another low. In the bull markets, it's going to go higher than what most people think. It's natural for people to fight against the established trend. So Stellar Lumens could go a lot higher than $2, so it's wise to keep a little bit in for the long term. Now let's pull up Flare. What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. Connie, good to see you. Nagorny, good to see you tuning in. Do you say your first name Przemysław Nagorny? That's a pretty cool name. Let me know if I pronounced that correctly. King J, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And yes, I will cover Hex and Pulse Chain for you in a moment. AJ, what is up? The urgent update is basically that crypto is recovering and that a lot of people are going to be bearish. A lot of people are going to have a bearish sentiment. But the most profitable thing, according to all of the charts, would be to hold on and keep buying in preparation for more upside, AJ. So that's kind of the important crypto update that made me want to hop on a live stream today for you guys. But yeah, let's do Flare and ZBCN, and then I'll get over to the other coins that you guys are requesting. So Flare also, it looks really good. I love this chart like a lot, actually. First of all, because we have a big triangle here. And anytime I've seen a triangle in crypto, it's been a really good thing. Crypto loves triangles. A good example of a strong triangle for crypto would be XRP. Like right here on XRP, it really did a very similar thing that Flare is doing right now. You can see this triangle here that led to a big bullish breakout, and Flare looks pretty much identical. And we just broke bullish out of that triangle recently. Yeah, we did pull back a little bit here in the short term, but this looks really good on Flare. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a big breakout up through our triangle resistance here at 5 cents per Flare token. So that looks really good. That looks like it is ready for more upside and for another big breakout in the big picture here up to a new high. So I love this chart. Wrapped dog. Let's pull up wrapped dog here on MEXC. Wrapped dog is looking really good right now. We have a nice double bottom on wrapped dog. We just broke bullish out of a wedge right here. You can see that falling wedge, and we're forming a large double bottom. So here's our first bottom here and our second bottom here, which means all of this is one massive double bottom on wrapped dog. This falling wedge is another reason to be very bullish on this coin. You see this big falling wedge right here. And again, there's way more volume down here than there ever was back when it was up there. And so that means that people are buying down here at dirt cheap prices. Zen. Let's pull up good old Horizon here. Oh, Zen is different than Horizon because Zen is spelled Z-E-N and this is X-E-N. So those are two different coins. So that's important to be aware of. So this looks really good. The reason that you can see a coin like this and say, hey, this looks good, is because once you start to really bottom out, you'll start to see volume increasing and the price going sideways. So if you see price going down, but volume is increasing, that's generally pretty bearish. But once the price is going sideways like this, even if it's going down a little bit, if it's majority of the time going sideways, that's really bullish if there's increasing volume. Basically, that shows you that people are picking it up at dirt cheap prices and they're buying more and more over time. So this coin looks really good. And if we zoom in just a little bit here in the very, very short term, we do have bullish divergence as well. So we have a bit of a lower low, but we have a higher low on the MACD. So that's bullish divergence. The other thing that I really like about this chart is the fact that we just broke out of a little triangle right here. So we have this little triangle pattern and we just broke bullish out of that. So this looks like it's starting to bottom out. So this thing could have a pretty big run. Let's check out the website. I actually don't know anything about this coin. zencrypto.com. Or zen.network actually is the interesting. There's no information on the dashboard. Huh, this is interesting. Yeah, the market cap is only 9 million. So these really low market cap coins, they can do really well, especially if volume starts to pick up. It looks like in 24-hour volume, there's about $200,000 on Uniswap, which is pretty good. It's not bad. So yeah, this thing could be bottoming out as we speak. I don't know anything about it. If you can, let me know what it does here in the live chat, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about this Zen token here. Okay, can you chart hex and pulse chain, good sir? Yes, I can. King J. There was a while that I wasn't doing pulse chain and hex analysis, but at this point, so many people are requesting it. And even if I do have concerns about people locking their money away, especially in contracts, because I don't want a bear market to start and a bunch of people to be locked in like a 15-year contract, I decided to go ahead and do analysis for you guys because you're asking for it, and at least I can serve you in some way by giving you my honest thoughts on the chart. Even if I'm not a big believer in locking away your funds in really long contracts, unless you can cancel them without any significant cost, then I'm a little bit more hesitant to do that, because And I don't think a bear market is starting anytime soon, but if it's a 15-year contract, some people might get caught in a bigger bear market before their contract is over. So that's my biggest concern with things like Hex, you know. But that doesn't mean I'm not bullish on the chart, because I do know a bullish chart when I see one. And this thing is an accumulation pattern over a long period of time. And let's go to the monthly candlesticks here and zoom out a little bit. In fact, I'll just go to my Twitter because it'll be easier than showing you here on Deck Screener, because I'll have to make the chart all over again. But I have Litecoin over here on the right, and I have Hex over here on the left. And you can see that Litecoin and Hex look very similar. So this is Litecoin early on when Litecoin was doing a multi-year accumulation pattern. And here's Hex over here on the left, as Hex is doing a multi-year accumulation pattern. So this is really bullish. This leads me to believe that sooner rather than later we will break bullish out of this horizontal consolidation pattern and start to head up towards a new. It's also just broke bullish out of a triangle. So a lot of people see this and they think, oh, that's a descending triangle. Well, not really. It's actually a lot more of a falling wedge than a descending triangle, because we have descending support and descending resistance. So that's a falling wedge, not a descending triangle. But even if it was a falling wedge or a descending triangle, the descending triangle is actually a bullish pattern if you have a bullish breakout. So if you have a descending triangle and you break bearish out of that pattern, then it is bearish. But if you have a descending triangle and you break bullish out of it, it's actually a bullish reversal pattern, and it's been one of the most profitable patterns I've ever seen in crypto. I've seen these descending triangles break out bullish to where they just completely go to the moon, all the way to a new all-time high. So pulse chain does look really good here. We did break bullish out of a falling wedge. We're coming back down to support right now. And sooner rather than later, we should start seeing a higher high, higher low pattern and really start to go to the moon here. Here's the thing. Richard Hart actually holds a ton of Ethereum. He has the liquidity to pump this market like crazy. And even though a lot of people don't like the guy, even if we take all of the, whether you like Richard Hart or not, out of it, he has the liquidity to send this thing completely to the moon. And he is the type of person that he's not going to let his coin fail. So it's very likely that based on the chart and based on how much liquidity Richard Hart has, he's going to pump the living heck out of his coins. And so it's just a question as to whether, you know, you are going to take advantage of that or not. You don't have to, even if you don't like the guy. Honest truth is that the chart and the fact that he has some of the most liquidity out of pretty much anybody in the crypto space, he holds more Ethereum than most exchanges do. There's a good chance he's going to pump the living heck out of his coins. All right, Algo. For me personally, I'm not a very big Richard Hart guy. I just, I don't have anything against him really, but I'm not a very big Richard Hart guy myself. But the charts look good, all right? So there's that, right? Let's pull up Algo here. So the last time we were looking at Algorand here, we were looking at a triangle pattern here. And we actually broke bearish out of that triangle. But what happened here is now we're forming a bull flag instead. So we have a bullish flag here. We have resistance and support. and that's a bullish flag pattern for Algorand, and I expect us to continue higher here in the near future for us to break bullish out of this bull flag and start to head up towards a new local high, which will lead us eventually to a new high above our local high right here at 60 cents. So this is a pretty powerful bottoming pattern here on Algorand, and I do think we're starting to see the early signs of a big picture reversal here for this coin. It's been going down for a while, as you guys know. If we go to the 10-day candlesticks here, it has been in a pretty big bear market since 2022, but a lot of these altcoins have. And it takes time to bottom out. You know, stuff doesn't bottom out overnight. But once it does, you definitely don't want to be bearish. You definitely don't want to be thinking in terms of that coin going down, because if you are, then you end up missing out on a heck of a lot of profit and a lot of money. Because what people don't realize, when a coin bottoms out and the reversal switches from the momentum being on the downside to the momentum being on the upside, it's like a dam breaking. And when that dam breaks, if you try to fight against that, you're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to really wish you were bullish, because the market starts to go up, it starts to break out, and it doesn't stop. It just goes higher and higher. And if you haven't seen a big picture reversal in crypto, you're in for a treat, because when these things reverse, it's crazy what can happen. AJ says, I am bullish since 2017. Well, that is very smart to be bullish this entire time. Here's the thing. Most people think too small picture with crypto. Most people are thinking in terms of, all right, this is just an investment vehicle for me to make some money, take some profits, and get away. Most people think, oh, I can just get rich quick and then I'll have a whole bunch of money, and this will be the end of my investing. But crypto is a new technology. And if you're going to be so small-minded that you just view this as a vehicle of producing investment in short-term swings, you're missing the whole point, because crypto is a new technology. You have the opportunity here to be investing in something that's going to change the world, like the world. And it's just really up to you. You know, are you going to just think small picture and buy crypto now and then sell later at a little bit of profit? Or are you going to invest in this thing for the long term, because this is a new technology that's literally changing the world? And I like to take the position that this is a new technology that's literally changing the world, because that's the honest truth. That's what crypto is doing. It's a new financial system, and it is changing the world. And so you got to be thinking bigger picture, more long term. The people that are going to get really screwed in this market are the people that are just trying to buy now, sell later at like small profits, and run away. Those are the people that are going to get screwed. Those are the people that are going to buy higher when it's overvalued, and they're going to miss the entire boat, the entire train of what's coming. So the most profitable thing to do is to invest for the long term, to be thinking long term. That doesn't mean you don't take profits. You definitely want to have a mindset of taking profits and of capitalizing on the movement in the markets. But it does mean that you should be thinking big picture. You should be thinking of crypto as here to stay, and you should be keeping your moon bags in and letting your winners run. Even if you take 75% off the table, keeping 25% in for the long term is a smart thing to do. So don't be small-minded. High-tech redneck says there's a lot of FUD on X about theta. Well, screw those people, you know. If you guys are going to be bullish on something all up until the point that it's not mooning because you're impatient, then get out of here. You know, a lot of people, they're just so small-minded. You know, people that changed the world, like Steve Jobs, for example, okay, whether you like the guy or not, whether you think he was a total jerk or whatever, he created the biggest company in the entire world, okay? Why? Because he believed in computers and the internet as a long-term technology, something that's here to stay. And he put his entire life into it, he went all in on it, and he innovated. And the world is different because he lived in a really positive way. And yeah, I'm not going to say that there isn't downsides to iPhones and computers, but overall it's really positive. The people that are addicted to their phones, that's their thing. Steve Jobs wasn't. If you go study the guy, he would barely use his own technology because he had self-discipline and he wasn't sitting there scrolling on his phone all the time because he had purpose and self-discipline. And, you know, so people that are so small-minded that they see something like theta, they see that it hasn't pumped yet, and they forget everything that they've been learning about up until this point. They forget about all the fundamentals. They forget about the chart. They forget about all of that. Screw them. You know? Like, you guys are really going to get impatient right before the big pump. You're really going to not make money just because it hasn't pumped yet and you're impatient. Like, wow. You know? Nothing has changed. The chart is still as bullish as it was a month ago, 2 weeks ago, as it has been this entire time. So you gotta think big picture. You gotta think long term. You can't be thinking short term. You can't be swayed by the opinions of men. If you're swayed by the opinions of men, you're not going to get very far in life. If you care about what people think, you know, you're not going to get very far. You got to see things as they are, hold to the truth, and stick to it, no matter what anybody else is saying. Because the truth is that 90% of people, they're like a ship without a rudder. They get tossed around life. They get thrown one way and the other way because they have no purpose, they have no vision, they're grounded upon nothing. But if you build your life upon the truth, then you're not going to shift and be thrown around with the waves and the winds of life, because the truth doesn't change. And my personal view on theta is based on fractal analysis, because fractals are how markets work. It's a fundamental law of the entire universe. Fractals are truth of life. They appear everywhere. And they appear in the markets. So I base my analysis in these markets based on law and principle and not based on people's opinions and FUD. And in fact, if there's FUD, I usually get excited, because I know that's exactly what happened to Ethereum here in March of 2020. I know that's exactly what happened to Bitcoin when Bitcoin fell at the beginning of the year and then fully recovered. I know that's what happened to Bitcoin last year when Bitcoin fell down to 50,000 and then fully recovered. People were fearful. FUD was high. And the market's fully recovered. So you have to base your analysis on truth and really your life based on truth, because otherwise you're just going to get thrown around by the 90% of people that are grounded upon nothing. You know, that's just the truth. So I'm still super bullish on theta, just as much as I was last month, last week, this entire time. So screw those people. Dogecoin. Yeah, let's pull up Dogecoin here. If you guys aren't excited about Dogecoin, you guys are missing out, man. There is 12-year-olds that are going to make more money than you just because of your pride, just because of your own pride. People that are unwilling to buy coins like Dogecoin because they think that it's some dumb meme coin. You're going to be in for a surprise when news articles come out about 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds that are millionaires because they bought Dogecoin, or even if they only make a few 100,000 because they didn't have a lot to put in. You guys are going to be pretty mad at yourself when that happens. And it happens every time too. Same thing happened with Bitcoin. You have no idea how many young people bought Bitcoin, but because old people were stuck in their ways and they were kind of prideful that they thought they knew best, they watched young people get rich in crypto. And I'll tell you a story, okay? In 2018, when the markets were crashing here, when Bitcoin was worth about $6,000 per coin, I went to Six Flags in California, and I was hanging out there with my friends, riding rides, even though rides, I'm not much for riding rides. I can't handle it very well. But I was riding rides and stuff, and we went into this guy's gift shop, and I told him I was a crypto investor. And he told me, he's like, you need to take all of your money out of Bitcoin because it's going to crash. And it was totally a fad and there's nothing to it. And I just said, all right, but I see it differently. You know, I was just like, whatever, dude. Look what Bitcoin did since then. It's worth over $123,000 per coin. Yeah, in the short term, it fell down to $3,000 after he told me that. But he thought that it was a fad that was done and gone, that it wasn't going to go any higher than it already had. And now it's worth $123,000 per coin. And it was only worth $6,000 when he told me that. So it just goes to show people think so small picture. They think what's going to happen, and they think, oh, you know, there's no way a new technology could change the world because things are the way they are. They don't view the world as something that's dynamic, that can change, that can evolve, that can be that there. If you don't understand this, you got to wake up, because there's a law called the law of evolution, and whether you believe in evolution of man or not, that's a whole different debate. But there's a fundamental law of the universe called the law of evolution. And it basically says that over time, things improve and developments happen. Why do you think we have cars that have 400 horsepower? It's like you have 400 horses inside of a single unit instead of needing 400 horses. It's called the law of evolution. And the honest truth is that that's a fundamental law of the entire universe. So yeah, things can replace old systems. The old dies away and new things get born. And that's, you either got to accept that or reject it, but it's a truth of life. And it's going to continue to be that way. And yeah, things like Dogecoin are going to go to the moon. This coin is seriously going to blow people away. It's going to go crazy. It's like buying Bitcoin right here in 2016 when Bitcoin fell from $783 down to $468 before it went to the moon in 2017, right? It's exactly the same. It's just like buying Bitcoin at $472. And I was there that day when that happened, and you have no idea how many people were bearish on Bitcoin, how many people thought that Bitcoin was going to go lower right there. The majority of people were bearish on Bitcoin when it fell down right here in this correction. And the majority of people are bearish on Dogecoin. They're bearish on altcoins. They're bearish on theta. They're bearish on whatever coin. Pretty much all of these coins, they're bearish on them. But they don't have the experience or the knowledge to see beyond that, or even the vision. Because even before I had the experience that I have, I understood that crypto was something that was going to change the world, and I held on to that vision, and that's what made me so much money in 2017. It's because I believed that crypto was here to stay, that the technology was powerful, that it was going to change the world. And even through all the corrections when everybody else was bearish over and over and over again, I held true to my bullish analysis. Even when Bitcoin fell down to 3,000 after topping out at 20, I did the same thing. I said, you know what? This is a technology that's here to stay. I'm not going to flip bearish. I'm going to view this as something that is here to stay. And it did recover, and it's still going higher, and I believe that there's a lot more left. Connie says ZBCN. So let's do some ZBCN analysis here. So ZBCN is one of my favorite setups right now, actually. This is a perfect triangle pattern here. Perfect triangle. And this is actually the same thing that Bitcoin did in 2015 too. So let's pull up old Bitcoin again. If you go back to 2015 down here and you look at Bitcoin as Bitcoin was bottoming out right here in 2015 and 2016, take a look at this triangle that Bitcoin did. This was the very beginning of a huge uptrend for Bitcoin. And this is a common thing for crypto to do. As you bottom out, you make these really nice triangle patterns like this, really perfect triangles. And then you break out bullish of that triangle, and it starts this huge uptrend that keeps going higher. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. That's what crypto does. That's what markets do. Screw crypto. Let's pretend that we're a stock trader right now, okay? Look at the Dow Jones. Yeah, there's been depressions. There's been recessions. There's been everything under the sun with the Dow Jones. But you know what the constant is? That it's going up. And yeah, it will probably peak out at some point again and have a depression or a recession, one of the two. But the constant is that this thing is in an uptrend. And, you know, that's how markets work. They start making higher highs and higher lows, and they continue to do that. And if you study these charts and you study these trends, the people that lose are the people that are bearish. You know, those are the people that lose. And that's not to say that you can't have a period in time where you are bearish, that you see a correction coming, because it's important to take profits and understand the context of the cycle. But if we're talking about the long term with any of these things, if there's a use case for something, if there's demand for something like gold or silver or crypto or the US stock market, it's going to keep going up over the long term. And that's why the smartest investors think long term. They think big picture. That's what Warren Buffett does. Warren Buffett thinks, I'm going to buy this thing and I'm going to forget it and I'm going to hold on to it and just set it and forget it. And that's how he makes so much money. you know. The 1950s were insane. Zoom in, I think it can provide a good analogy for today. SP averaged 19% a year. Yeah, look at this. Look at this during the 1950s. Look how bullish that was after World War II. Look how bullish the stock market was. Crazy. Crazy bullish after World War II. It's one of the best times in history. If you go back and ask people, like especially older people, they will tell you how good the 1950s were because it was like a really awesome time to be alive. And today is an awesome time to be alive too in its own way. It's different than it was back then. We live in a different world, but there's more opportunity in today's world than ever before. The opportunity, the accessibility to start a business, to prosper, to become a millionaire, it's better than it ever was. There's so much innovation and so much excitement and technology being created. It's a really exciting time to be alive, you guys. But the 1950s were rocking. I agree, Justin. Think of going to like a 1950s dance. Think how cool that would be. We need to build a time machine, you guys. Let's all get together. Let's get rich on crypto. Then we'll build a time machine and we'll go see what it's like to be in different times in history. Then we can really make those Donald Trump conspiracies about him being a time traveler true. We'll just take him a time machine and then then we'll make it true. Oh man. What's the price target for theta and GRT? So I have two targets for theta. If we have a smaller bull market, I'm thinking $55. If we go for mass adoption with theta, I'm thinking more like 260. But that's only because crypto is basically going to be the forefront of a roaring 20s 2.0. And if we get a roaring 20s 2.0 scenario, which is 100% possible based on the economic conditions, how everything is set up right now, we could get a roaring 20s 2.0, and crypto could go way higher than what most people are thinking, way higher than a lot of people. A lot of people are thinking like, oh, maybe a little bit above our old all-time high, maybe just a little bit, you know? No. Crypto could go way higher than its old all-time high. If this is the institutional super cycle for crypto, it could go way higher than what a lot of people think. So if we get a super cycle with crypto, I think theta could go to $260 before 2029. But if we get more of a reserved bull market, I think $55 isn't out of the question. $50, $55, somewhere around there isn't out of the question for theta. So those are kind of my two primary targets for theta. Now, as far as GRT goes, I don't think I've ever done a target for GRT that I can remember. Just using the Bitcoin fractal. So again, we'd use the same two fractals. So just in the same way how I got two fractals for theta, we can get two targets for GRT, dependent on whether we get a super cycle or whether we get a more just strong cycle. Because either way, I think we're going to be super bullish. It just depends on whether we get super bullish or just super bullish. You know what I mean? So let's pull up Bitcoin here with the fib tool, this extensions, and we'll do the same thing with GRT here and look at extensions. So if it goes for super cycle, you know, like a really big bull market, Bitcoin hit the 16618 Fibonacci extension before having a bear market. If we go for a super cycle, GRT could hit $48 in a super cycle before it tops out. Now, if it does just a super cycle, less bullish, more of just a like what happened in 2021, right? Not like what happened in 2017. So if it behaves more like 2017, it could go all the way up to the 16618 and hit $48, $47 here. It says $47.50. But if it does more like 2021 and doesn't quite go as bullish, then we'd be looking at just below the 3618, because this is what happened to Ethereum in 2021. It didn't quite hit the 3618, in which case I'd be targeting about $10, like $9.78 for GRT. So those are the two scenarios. I'm personally leaning more towards a super cycle, like a full-blown parabolic bull market where even the dollar crashes so hard that it makes it possible for the market caps of these cryptos to go way higher than what most people think. For a lot of these cryptos to hit market caps, it just seems impossible for them to hit. That's what I'm leaning towards, is a proper super cycle like 2017, like a roaring 20s 2.0. And yeah, the value of the dollar will be going down, so it won't be as meaningful for us to hit, like, let's say we hit let's say Bitcoin hits 10 trillion in market cap and it becomes the biggest publicly traded asset, one of the biggest publicly traded assets, if not the biggest in the world. I don't know what the biggest is. I know that Apple has over 4 trillion market cap, and it's one of the biggest, right? Stocks, at least, single stocks. But let's say Bitcoin hits 10 trillion in total market cap. The dollar would be worth less, so it would make it possible for us to hit those levels. But all the crypto people are going to get rich. Imagine the people that hold the dollar. Imagine the people that stay holding all of their fiat money. They're going to end up not very happy. They're going to be pretty sad campers. And that's 100% possible. So those are the two scenarios I see with the crypto markets. And yeah, if we get a more conservative target, that would be $10 for GRT, more like Ethereum in 2021. But if we get a proper super cycle like 2017 Bitcoin and 2017 altcoins, it could hit $47. Now, the dollar will be worth less, but it's 100% possible for that to happen. And that's actually what crypto is designed to do, by the way. Crypto is designed to replace fiat money. And if this is a cycle that happens, which it's looking like it's going to, why do you think big institutions are putting so much money into this stuff and building infrastructure and making crypto departments in top companies? They're doing that because they are expecting crypto to be something that, if it doesn't replace the dollar, at least becomes something that is significantly dominant, like a dominant form of currency. People don't send letters to each other. Do you know anybody that sends commonly on a consistent basis that sends letters to each other? No, if you do it, it's just for fun because it's cool. It's like having records and a record player, Most people communicate over FaceTime or text messages or email because the world is different now. And that's what can happen with crypto. It can really change money in a way that will change the world forever. John Cook says Theta just awarded another patent for edge cloud computing architecture for decentralized computing. I know it's fundy, but sounds like good news. No, that is good news, John. That's awesome. Theta is doing good things. If I was a fundamental analyst, If I was a fundamental analyst, then theta would still be one of my top coins because the fundamentals are strong. I am technically a technical analyst, so I look at charts primarily. But yeah, theta has extremely good fundamentals. Mike Collins says, Dallin, my man, what's up, brother? It's getting exciting. Telcoin been covered. No, I haven't covered Telcoin, but I can. And Taylor Scott, we already covered Wrapped Dog earlier in the live stream, so go check out the Wrapped Dog analysis, and we already covered that one. But yeah, let's pull up Telcoin here. I got talking about how crypto is going to change the world and missed all of the requests that you guys were doing in the live chat. So I'm sorry about that, but it's just as important to understand that crypto is here to stay as it is for me to cover your favorite coins, because most of your favorite coins are going to go up because crypto is here to stay. So MDT, measurable data token. This looks really good here. This is accumulation cycle. We are very undervalued here in the short term. This is highly oversold. You can see we have extremely oversold conditions on the MACD. We have an ABC correction right here in the short term. This looks really good. This looks ready to bottom out. One of my favorite things about this coin is the steady, consistent volume. There's clearly people accumulating it throughout this entire pattern right here where it seems to be going sideways. So in the immediate future, I expect a double bottom, this being our first bottom and that being our second, and for us to break out and start a bull market, because this really hasn't had a proper bull market. It's pretty much just had a huge multi-year accumulation cycle. So this is ready for a proper bull market. Let's see here. Telcoin. I don't know why I did MDT first. I was going to do Telcoin. Let's pull up Telcoin here. Let's do short-term analysis. I've shown you the Ethereum fractal many times, how Telcoin looks like Ethereum, how it looks like Bitcoin. It really does look exactly the same. This coin has one of the strongest communities. Like sometimes my X posts will do good on Ethereum. Sometimes they do good on Chainlink. But if I post about Telcoin, this coin has a really big community, which is a good thing. That's a really good thing. But yeah, you guys already know it looks like Ethereum, and it looks, in the big picture, it looks ready for a big pump. But let's talk about the short term here. Let's go to the daily and just cover kind of what's happening here in the short term. So this is the first big bullish impulse in a new trend. So this is actually wave 1 right here and wave 2. And we're getting ready for a wave 3. So when I say the first big bullish impulse in a new trend, we've had a little pump right here and a little pullback, but this is our first wave, right? This is our first Elliott wave here for Telcoin. And you can see here our wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3 is coming. So wave 3 is bigger than wave 1. So if we just measure the height of wave 1 like this, and we place it on top of wave 1, wave 3 is going to be bigger than wave 1. It has to be. Has to be bigger than wave 1. That's wave 3. That's one of the rules of Elliott wave theory, is that wave 3 is going to be bigger than wave 1. So wave 1 is typically one of the smallest waves. Wave 5, you guys already have heard me say this before, wave 5 can be extended. It often is in crypto. So a lot of times wave 5 is even bigger than wave 3. But wave 3 is going to be bigger than wave 1. Wave 3 cannot be the smallest wave in the Elliott wave cycle, is the official rule. So that's really good from an Elliott wave perspective here for Telcoin. The other thing that's really good for an Elliott wave perspective, from an Elliott wave perspective here for Telcoin, is even in the short term here, you can see our ABC correction here. So we have our A wave, our B wave, and our C wave right here. But we also, from a subwave perspective, we have wave 1, wave 2. So even in the short term, like the very immediate future is also ready for a 3 wave. So this is what we call a 3 of 3. So if you have a big picture wave 1 and a big picture wave 2 with a big picture wave 3 coming, and then inside of that wave 3, you have wave 1 and wave 2 already done, then we call that a 3 of 3. So you're getting 2 3 waves stacked on top of each other, a subwave 3 wave and a big picture 3 wave. And when that happens, it's typically very bullish because wave 3 is already very impulsive, more than wave 1. And so if you get 2 wave 3s stacked on top of each other, the result of that is very bullish. And that's what I expect here for Telcoin, is a very vertical, very bullish move because we have a 3 of 3. But not only that, we also have an inverse head and shoulders here. So we have our left shoulder here, our head right here, and our right shoulder here. And by the way, a lot of people, sometimes if I cover your favorite coin, a lot of people will take my video and they'll record me, then they'll clip out that section where I talk about that coin. So feel free, you guys. I don't care if you do this. I really don't. A lot of times I'll see people, like if I talk about theta, they'll record just that segment of me talking about theta and they'll go post it on X and share it with people. Feel free to do that. You know, it's a win-win for everybody. All the people that are into theta get analysis about it, shared on X, and it's a win for me because people see my content more. So feel free to do that. You know, it's good for everybody when that happens. So yeah, Telcoin looks really good, you guys. Okay, so I did MDT, I did Telcoin. Angel Dudina, I think that's how you say her name. Some say the top is in shortly. What's your thoughts on this? I would have to disagree. I understand where they're coming from just because of how many people got screwed in 2021 and in 2022 because they thought the market was going to go higher. So I empathize with those people in a way, but I would have to disagree with them at the same time because the fact of the matter is that Bitcoin is starting just a massive bull market here. If you look at Bitcoin, you compare it to Apple computers early on in its uptrend, you start to get a picture of what's coming for Bitcoin. And it's a very bullish picture. It's not just, we're going to end a bull market because it pumped a little bit. It's, this thing is starting a massive uptrend. And crypto is really going into mass adoption. And it's going to make a lot of people rich. And a lot of people are going to be very benefited from it. Even third world countries are going to be extremely benefited from crypto. A lot of these people don't have stable currencies, and this is a universal system that anybody can use anywhere in the world that is way better than their fiat currencies, which are controlled by central governments and are often manipulated and even controlled by extremely corrupt politicians. So these third world countries are sometimes the most to benefit from crypto. And yeah, this thing is going to go crazy because it's like a universal one world currency. And that's a really good thing as far as the economy goes for the world. It opens the doors for the world to have a stable economic system aside from their very unstable currencies. If you guys think that crypto is volatile, go try to put your entire net worth in a third world country where the currency is falling 90% sometimes in a year's worth of time. If you think crypto is unstable, crypto is extremely stable. Crypto is actually like a really safe, solid bet. A lot of these people don't have anything to put their trust in that will stay bullish, that will hold value in any significant way. And crypto is way more stable than those things for a lot of these developing countries. So I believe the crypto markets have a lot more to go. Let's see here. Justin wants me to cover Uniswap. So let's do some Uniswap analysis. And I can't probably do all of the coins that you guys are requesting today, but I'll do a few more here. So Uniswap is like the pancake swap for Ethereum. Pancake swap is doing really good right now because, as you guys know, Binance is doing really good. Shout out to my VIP members because I was calling bullish moves on Binance like all through this whole correction here and even over here before we went parabolic. You guys know that we're doing really good here on Binance. But yeah, Pancake Swap is doing really good. It's going to go really high. Pancake Swap looks really good, but Uniswap is like the Ethereum Pancake Swap, right? And it looks amazing. Uniswap looks like Ethereum in 2018 and 2019 and 2020. It's basically like buying Ethereum in March of 2020 before Ethereum went to the moon. It's a very similar structure. Or even Bitcoin in 2016 before Bitcoin went to the moon in 2017. Oops, I always forget to do that. Let's pull up Bitcoin here on Bitstamp, and you can see very similar pattern, very similar chart, you know. So yeah, Uniswap is really ready for a big picture bull market. It's heavily undervalued. All of this accumulation, this huge ABC correction is set up to come to fruition here, where we start to see the fruition of this ABC correction and a big picture reversal here for Uniswap, a big recovery and a huge, very profitable run here on this coin. Looks really good. All right. Have y'all looked at Link already? No, I haven't looked at Link yet, but actually I really want to. Chainlink is a very, very, very good setup here. If we pull up Chainlink right here and we keep Bitcoin over here on the right, this is almost identical to early day Bitcoin. So if you guys missed out on Bitcoin back in the day when it was worth basically nothing, buying Chainlink today is very similar. It's a very, very similar kind of setup here. And yeah, this thing is set up for a massive bull market all the way to a new all-time high. I could easily see $100 plus Chainlink, no problem. In fact, I could easily see a $200 plus Chainlink, no problem. So it's set up for some really big gains in the big picture. AJ Rickert Epstein says, Snook on Pelas. Did you know it was the coin that Doge was forked from? The guy who made it created Doge, made bells 8 days before Doge. Same Genesis block. No, I did not know that, but that is super cool. And thank you for the donation, AJ. I genuinely appreciate that. And let's look for Nook. I don't know where to look at it. I don't know if it's on Deck Screener, but let's see if we can find where it's at. Maybe it's on Deck Screener. Where do you look at it? Maybe it's on CoinGecko. Let's go to CoinGecko. CoinGecko.com. Nook here. Nook. I see Nook versus Ethereum. Maybe it's on Deck Screener. Nook. Oh, is it Snook? No, just $ Nook. It's pretty new. Maybe it isn't out yet. Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. It's not on Deck Screener. It's not on CoinGecko. And it's not on TradingView. So I can't do analysis on it until there's somewhere where it's publicly traded, but I'm happy to cover Bell's coin again for you today. Let's see. Bell's coin on CoinEx. Let's do the Bitcoin chart. We've covered the dollar chart a lot, but let's cover the Bitcoin chart. for bells, because this is starting to look really good here on the Bitcoin chart. Let's pull up the daily here. This looks really good on the Bitcoin pair. This is extremely undervalued here on the Bitcoin pair. We have a big ABC correction right here. It really looks like it's finally starting to wash out down here and bottom out. So this is set up for a reversal versus the Bitcoin pair, which means Bell's coin will start outperforming Bitcoin. And once this thing starts to outperform Bitcoin, you're going to see a big run on this. It's going to go like what it did in 2024 over here, where it went all the way up versus Bitcoin. Once this thing starts running on the Bitcoin pair, you're going to see a run like it did in 2024. In fact, because this is a huge ABC correction here, it's probably going to go for a new all-time high versus the Bitcoin pair very soon. This is what happens. This is why they call it alt season, you guys. Because these coins that look like they're dead go to a new all-time high on the Bitcoin pairs. It's why they call it alt season. And if you look right here, XRP did the same exact thing, you guys. XRP did a big ABC correction here for its first cycle. Huge ABC correction on the Bitcoin pair. Then it went all the way to the moon on the Bitcoin pair. And then it did the same thing again here in 2018, right? Where it really went parabolic versus, well, I guess mainly 2017 still, really went parabolic versus the Bitcoin pair. And actually, it's a big fractal of itself all over again. This ABC correction right here on XRP is the same as this ABC correction right here. It's just a big fractal of itself. And it's ready to pump versus the Bitcoin pair. Alt season is set up to happen, you guys. And Bell's coin is no exception. This thing is set up to pump on the Bitcoin pair all the way to a new all-time high. It looks a lot like early day XRP before XRP pumped on the Bitcoin pair. And Bitcoin dominance is not looking hot. Yeah, it bounced a little bit here in the short term, but this is not looking hot. This is looking really bearish. The Bitcoin dominance is set up to do what it did in 2017, where Bitcoin dominance fell off a cliff. That's what Bitcoin dominance is set up to do. And I really firmly believe that alt season is here, that we're ready for a huge run in the altcoins. And it's going to be glorious and very profitable. And I believe that's the case with AJ, or with Bell's coin, AJ. So, yeah, thanks again for that donation. I genuinely appreciate that. Velo Labs already. No, I have not done Velo Labs yet. Let's pull up Velo here. You guys know the drill with Velo. This thing is starting an uptrend. It hasn't went parabolic yet, but it will. This thing will go parabolic. It will go to a new local high up above this level here. And this really isn't much. This hasn't seen the typical vertical uptrend that you're expecting, but it will. This is just a higher high, higher low pattern in preparation for a parabolic run. So we have our higher high, higher low pattern right here, like this. And it's getting ready for that just vertical kind of run that happens when markets bottom out and when they start to go really bullish, when they really go parabolic. That's what Velo is set up for. And this has not seen the parabolic run that's coming yet. This is just the early signs of what's coming. The bullishness, the bottoming out that we've started to see, that's the early signs of a big run on this coin. And it's going to go nuts, you guys. This thing is going to go very vertical. It's going to start to look like this. And all of this will be a big running diagonal right here. This whole bullish move right here. In fact, Where is it here? Or leading diagonal, not running diagonal, my bad. I was thinking of a running flat. It's a leading diagonal. If we look at a leading diagonal Elliott wave here, that's exactly what Velo Labs is doing right now. So all of this right here that we've started to see here with Velo Labs, all of this right here is a leading diagonal Elliott wave. So let's go to the log chart here, and I'll show you what I mean. This right here is a rising wedge pattern for Velo. And if we look at it here, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's make these subwaves here. So let's go with a micro. So that's our leading diagonal right there. And then here we have our wave 1, wave 2, 3, 4, 5. We're getting ready for that big 3 wave, that 4 wave, and that 5 wave here for Velo. It's going to blow people away. This thing just finished its first part of the leading diagonal here, and it's getting ready to blow people away. This thing is going to have a huge recovery and make a lot of people super rich, and it's going to be extremely fun to play this and to ride this all the way to a new all-time high. Now, how high it goes above its old all-time high, it's a whole nother conversation. But right now, if you're buying down here just under a penny, or just over a penny, I mean, you could make a lot of money on the run that's coming for this coin. So I'm very bullish on Velo. All right, cool. I think that's pretty much all the coins that you guys requested. We're pretty close to it. So I'm going to call it a day. RJ Tinks, thank you for tuning in from Australia. Yeah, looks like I covered pretty much all of them. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos and future crypto live streams. Again, feel free, you guys, if I covered one of your favorite coins, feel free to take a snippet from my live stream here and share it in the communities of your favorite coins. It's a win-win for everybody. The communities always really appreciate analysis on their favorite coins, and it boosts my channel and grows my channel. So feel free to do that. And yeah, thanks again for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos and in future live streams. And as always, stay profitable out there.